Hello and welcome back to Rooted in the Seasons, where ancient wisdom meets modern life with a strong cup of tea. with a strong cup of tea, practical tools for real busy women. I'm Katja Patel, Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle educator, yoga teacher, and teacher mentor. I help women find calm and clarity through small daily rituals, seasonal rhythm, and timeless wisdom that actually fits into real life. In today's episode, I'm joined by Miss Meg, also lovingly called your modern day Mary Poppins. Miss Meg is founder of Infinite Connections Academy and the Miss Meg app, and the creator of the whole family regulation method that transforms sleep by tending to the entire nervous system, not just what happens at bedtime. Over the last 25 years, Meg has worked with over 8,500 families across more than 20 countries, guiding babies, children, and the adults who shepherd them towards steadier rhythms, deeper rest, and more ease at home. Meg is known for an approach that's secure attachment-based and doesn't involve any cried-out tactics. Instead of treating sleep like a behavior to fix, she teaches something more humane: sleep as a felt experience of safety. It's what the body naturally does when the day has been balanced, the environment is predictable, and the connection is steady. What also makes her work unique is that it's never only about sleep. It's about whole family regulation, aligning daytime and nighttime, building smooth transitions, and setting everyone up for success through realistic routines that match real nervous systems. A core part of her method includes sensory diets, the right blend of movement, outdoor time, nourishment, and calming cues. So children aren't asked to settle a body that's been underfed and overstimulated all day. If you've ever wondered why bedtime can feel like the hardest hour in the house, Meg brings a clear reframe and practical tools that help rest become available again for the whole family. Here's one quote that sums up her work. Remember, when regulation leads, the rhythm follows. Rest always becomes available. So this episode is slightly different because we have recorded it being together in the same room. So you will now listen to the recording. To today's podcast episode, where I have totally new setup. We are live in one room, Miss Meg and me. Welcome to today's podcast episode. And I'm really excited about this because what we are talking about is how sleep, or how to, in a very simplified way, how to get babies to sleep with ease And then on the side, maybe also the adults have some benefit as well from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And babies and children.
And babies and children, that's
Yes.
right. You also work with children, I think 5, beyond 5? Or,
Yes, birth to 12 years old.
Birth to 12, wow.
Yeah.
That's already a good range. And the 12 years old, they are not adults just yet, but they are more closer to that adult life than to the baby life.
Yes, and I do work with parents as well.
Very important.
In terms of their sleep.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, because they are related,
Yes.
right? Literally related.
Mainly by the inner child.
by the inner child. That brings us to the first question that I wanted to ask. So when you work with babies, the adults around you work with at the same time, right? Can you just tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yes. So in relation to sleep,
Mm.
because it's the most vulnerable time for a child,
Yes.
it's important to create an environment where the parents are able to stand in their leadership
Mm-hmm.
and guide the child confidently.
Yes.
And that is one of the biggest dynamics, is when the child has to control the parent as an
Yes.
illusion of safety.
Okay.
And oftentimes the parent lets the child control because they're such a sweet little baby and
Yes.
they're learning to find their autonomy and have a voice and make a decision. And, you know, it starts so innocently with you're at the playground or the park and the baby's, let's go this way or let's go that way. And then the parents are so excited for that. And they grow a little older and they have opinions around food and they have ideas that they want to explore. And before you know it, the parent looks back and realizes that they've given all the control to the child and they haven't, they've unintentionally struggled to set boundaries or to, give the child the scaffolding where they can trust the parent's leadership. And especially in relation to sleep, because that's vulnerable, then the child, thinks, oh, I just want one more cuddle or one more this or one more that. And it creates a curtain call dynamic. And so a lot of it is
familiar with that curtain call.
Yeah. So we're giving the parents their intuition back. We're giving them their sense of confidence, how to be loving and respectful while also being clear on expectations and being the guardrails for the child in that vulnerable time and teaching them to have leadership in the daytime and have trust in the nighttime.
Okay. I think this probably is something that is quite difficult because I'm just speaking for myself, and I know lots of others experience that as well. We haven't learned that,
Yeah.
right? So and what I feel and know is that adults also project lots of their insecurities and fears and stress onto the babies, and then they think, oh, that's what they think. Hence, they need this and that.
That's where a lot of nightmares actually come for children.
Wow.
And that's also, oh my goodness, that's also where like separation anxiety comes from.
Yes.
And, so because sleep is the most vulnerable time, and I'll keep coming back to that point.
Yes.
When a child cries for the parent naturally wants to, console the child and unintentionally rescue the child, right? You pick them up out of the bed. Don't worry, mommy's here.
Yes.
You're safe in my arms.
Yes.
But guess what message it sends to the child?
Well, they are not safe otherwise.
They're not safe in their bed. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. So, and then when the parent is playing peekaboo with the child and the child gets startled or they get surprised and the parent unintentionally says, oh, did I scare you? Did I frighten you? And they, if the child's mind is like this filing cabinet and every file is a concept that we're imprinting on them.
Yeah.
And so if you say scared and you have talk about fears and you unintentionally project those dynamics on the child, it might seem harmless now, but once they become 2, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, and they learn about it in preschool and nursery and storybooks and TV shows and
Yeah.
society,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they're flooded with what fear really means, what scary things really are.
Mm.
And, now they have to rewire or reprogram all of that.
Yeah.
So I teach parents, how do you respond
Mm.
100% of the time without getting trapped in the room? How do you respond in a way that doesn't inadvertently reinforce the escalation, both as an effective form of communication,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
the anxiety underpinning the escalation?
Yes.
And how do you respond, not react, to the dynamics that turn into fears and insecurities so that we're
Mm.
not projecting those dynamics on the child and repeating intergenerational traumas, essentially?
Absolutely. So this will then have the language very strongly in that as well.
Yes.
And this is just a side question that spontaneously come. Wouldn't it be better to train the parents first as they are pregnant, rather than when it's already there and done?
Yes. I mean, I would love to have this methodology that
Mm,
I call Meg's method. It's kind of like a Montessori 2.0.
yes,
A lot of people call me the real life Mary Poppins. And it's funny because I've flown here to London the other day and happened
yes.
to bring all the rain with me, which I suppose
Thanks.
is classic. But in Hawaii, I show up on my sparkly motorcycle. So it's
Okay.
like a little twist on the Mary Poppins, not an umbrella, but I have a
That's
Harley.
it. Wow.
But yes, that's the goal, is to get these life skills in the
Yes.
hands of the parents while
Mm,
they're pregnant so that it's all about the energy that you're feeding the
that's, yeah,
pregnancy. And
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
this is a lot about what you teach, because that
Absolutely.
energy sends the message. Is this child coming into a safe or
Mm,
a dangerous world?
yeah.
And then once they're in the parents' arms, now we have the self-care, the confidence, the tribe, the community that the
Mm,
parent either knows how to access or doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel there's a lot of resonance in what you do around there as well, because that's exactly what I also teach and
Yeah,
support
yeah.
parents in creating. And then, yes, how do you lay the foundation that doesn't need to be rebuilt? By
Mm,
giving the skills for co regulation, which is what leads to self regulation, and self regulation is what leads to self soothing.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
many parents or caretakers say, "Oh, put them in the crib and let them self soothe," but it's
Mm,
really cry it out. And the child is
yes, yes.
screaming bloody murder, and
Mm,
pardon me, they're just struggling so much and having a hard time. And,
yeah, yeah.
that is scary for the child. That's
Mm,
overwhelming for them. And so I just, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Uh, uh, there were two things that that came up. So first of all, what you said, the all starts in Ayurveda. This concept is very similar, because the preparation starts already before conception, there with sort of deep cleanses, and they in Ayurveda, they are not just on the body side, but they are also on the mental side, on the
Yes.
emotional side,
Yes.
and then eating uh, the supportive food
Mhm.
as well to that, and then after that. It is all about the conception, because then lots is already instilled
Mhm.
in that not yet even formed
Mhm.
baby.
Mhm.
And the time of pregnancy is really important, so that the pregnant woman is supported, not to argue, not to upset too much, because it all impacts the
Mhm.
baby. So this concept of really laying the foundations is very similar there, and not just looking at, wow, now I have this bundle, what I do with it,
Yes.
but really thinking ahead when you think of wanting children.
Yeah.
And but the other thing what came up was when you were saying the baby start crying. So when you say self-soothing and letting them cry is something completely different,
Yes. Can I
right?
clarify?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because
Please.
self-soothing is sounds, the
Yes.
humming. When babies
Mm,
are nursing, they're often
mm, yes.
or if they're, waking up spontaneously after a nap or in the morning or sometimes at 2 a.m. and they're
Mm,
babbling to themselves,
yes.
that is self-soothing.
Okay.
So anytime the child is crying, now I also teach families to navigate all the cry levels. And
Mm,
I've developed a system where there's 5 cry levels. But
okay.
then there's also, whinging,
Mm,
fussing,
mm,
complaining,
mm, mm,
protesting, and then the level 1 through 4 cries, and then there's trauma cries. And, so there's this whole range. And the way that you interact with that communication is going to either support the child in building coping skills
yeah.
and learning how to regulate their emotions,
Mm-hmm.
or it's going to traumatize
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to shut down, give up, have this learned helplessness. With my methodology around sleep, the child never cries themselves to sleep. They never um, shut down or give up. There's
Mm,
no trauma that we're inflicting.
yeah.
We are
Yeah.
honoring the child's communication and teaching them to self regulate through co regulation. And
Mm,
that pathway will lead to them learning to self soothe because we are transmuting all of those alarm bells
yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
say, rescue me, pick me up. I don't think I'm safe down here. I'm only safe in your arms because of that
Mm,
dynamic that had been inadvertently
yeah.
taught
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
them. And so the way that I guide families to soothe, I've developed a soothing ladder. And as the child escalates, you give them more emotional support. And as they're calming down and de-escalating, then you kind of take those, that you transition from different soothing techniques
Yeah.
that are heavier soothing to lighter soothing, but they all connect in the child's experience, heart to toe, with
Mm,
a little pause in between. And you get to a place where you move from needing any physical soothing to only responding with mantras with your voice.
mm,
And once you can respond with your voice, and that is equally as comforting as if they were
yeah.
nursed,
Yes.
then you have now this way to transition out of the room
Mm,
while still being 100% responsive over the monitor, but giving them all of the little touch points that they need. And I'm talking you respond with only 2 seconds of
mm,
escalation. If they only make a sound for 1 second and they quiet, you don't need to respond to that
yes. Yeah.
naturally. But a 2-second escalation, they already get a response.
Mm,
And if they're escalating for like 10, 15 seconds and they haven't calmed with the verbal soothing,
mm,
then they already need you back in the room with them. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a fervor. It's not a
Mm,
cry it out. We're not
mm,
leaving them longer and longer.
yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
actually giving them the predictability and the consistency that
Mm,
creates that internal sense of security and giving them all the touch points so that they trust you will always come back and so that they see that you can move away from them and come back to them.
mm,
And it's like processing that energy and that vulnerability.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
by little, you create that spaciousness to where,
Mm,
the first night, first 2 nights, you might be like completely hands on soothing them that you're like sweaty at the end of it. Of course, also just a little stressed, right?
yes. Just
But
a little.
they're
Yes.
calm and they're asleep from a calm place with this
Mm,
heavy co regulation. By the second, third, fourth night, they just lay down and choose to go to sleep. It's
mm,
not, they didn't fall asleep. They weren't put to sleep.
yes.
They
Yes.
choose
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's such a powerful concept that most people aren't
Absolutely.
aware of.
Most people aren't.
Yeah.
So true. And I think this should be really foundational.
Yeah.
What to teach. Yes, the women, but also actually so much filters into school life.
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
secondary school definitely should have a little bit, at least not any mythology, but the knowledge or the information that actually this is out there, and that's something that is really helpful.
Yes, and this is exactly where I'm going
Ah,
because
good.
aside from all of the sleep and regulation,
Yes.
so my partner and I have 5 children ranging from 12 and a half down to 3 that we
Yes.
homeschool together in
Yes.
like a Montessori, Waldorf, blended Meg's
Mm.
method program.
Yeah.
And then, I've created a curriculum that will credential caregivers so
Yes.
that you already can have this network of caregivers who have this foundation, this
Mm.
understanding, this trust based,
Yeah.
play based, secure attachment methodology
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just layer into everything else beautiful that they offer,
Mm.
even to teachers and caregivers and preschools and nurseries. And, the teachers can use the same dynamic of responding and not reacting and teaching the children to be solution oriented and to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
predictable, consistent ways of relating with the
Mm.
child or the children. And so, even at like a training level, to have that credential,
Yeah.
and when you go to college and you're learning about Piaget and all of the developmental theorists, then
Mm.
I'll get to be a part of that someday.
Yeah, no, that would be that. I think that would be it would be so helpful because, um, what you said, responding instead of reacting is very important. But I have worked with lots of pregnant women in the past through my pregnancy yoga courses, but
Mhm.
also birth preparation, and then afterwards the postnatal massages,
Yeah.
and so much around pregnancy is fear-based. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And all of that is totally unnecessary because trust, for me, that's the main thing, is the trust. And I think we all can trust our body because that's what our body is made for. The
Mhm.
one and only thing, to
Yeah.
to get children here on in this life,
Yeah. To be
and
that portal.
yes, and
Mm.
maintain humankind. And so the body has already this huge wisdom and knows exactly what it needs to do. But our mind is unfortunately not in that position, and the fear is really strong. And so to help that with this kind of knowledge, this kind of information, at least that the information is out there, is really important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to bring mothers back to their sovereignty,
Mm,
back to their
absolutely.
sense of empowerment and that
Yeah.
confidence, and like you're saying, the trust in themselves, in their
Mm.
community, in their environment.
And also enjoying
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
a baby and being a mother rather than dreading the evenings or this whole build up
Yeah.
that when it comes to sleep time or towards that. And yeah, it's really it's I think it's really a super important work, and lots needs to be unlearned.
Yes, yeah, and this is also where I think the colic
Mm.
and the purple cries and the evening
Mm.
witching hour comes
Mm.
from.
Yes.
It's just a buildup of the dysregulation through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
day
yeah,
and everybody getting more exhausted and struggling and getting to that point where everyone is
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
the nervous system is out of sync.
Yes.
And when we bring that back into balance, and that's why sleep isn't only about night, it's also about the decompression, the stimulation, the regulation, the sensory
Mm.
diets of the daytime, and
Absolutely.
having those rhythms so that
Mm.
you can move through the entire day and have those moments to reset and have the scaffolding to better understand what everyone's needs are in
Mm.
tandem.
Yeah,
And, that's what I've developed within the app, is to
yeah.
create that tool that guides everybody towards that.
Yes, yeah, that's no, it is really important. In Ayurveda, sleep is one of the three pillars of
Mhm.
health.
Yeah.
And also Ayurveda doesn't see the sleep at the night activity, but the whole day, your whole rhythm throughout
Mhm.
the day really is important for your sleep. what you eat, when you do which activity, and also what you mentioned, decompressing before you go to sleep, and
Yes.
not just falling into bed
To hit
straight
the
from
pillow.
the pillow and and to be out there and have a not very restful sleep after
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And that's very it's very interesting to see that it's not. I was like when there's something out there that sort of reinforces what Ayurveda says, either
Hmm.
through the science or through other areas that have that same or similar ideas,
Yeah.
because everything is really interconnected.
Yes. And I
And
have something so powerful to lead into that is
yes.
about all the babies who are being fed to sleep and fed around the clock throughout the
Hmm.
night,
Hmm.
and how it, I know with Ayurveda that you want to have that rest and digest period,
That's
and you
right.
want
Yeah.
to give your body, there's like the micro regulation and
Mm.
there's the bigger regulation
Yeah.
dynamics.
Yeah.
And yes, little teeny tiny babies need to be fed in a way around
Mm.
the clock.
Yes.
However, what they don't teach you is that you do not have to wake the baby up to feed
Yes.
them constantly.
No.
And a lot of people they do that
Mm.
and they're waking them up every couple of hours. And so I teach families how to offer dream feeds so the sleep and the eating happen in parallel tracks, and
Mm.
the baby gets to experience a full night of sleep while
Yeah.
their body gets the nourishment it needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once the baby has doubled their birth weight, or they're more than
Mm.
15 pounds, which I believe is 7 or 8 kilos,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you can look at very gracefully shifting those night calories
Mm.
back to the daytime
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
consolidating their night sleep
Mm.
and supporting the body and going to bed with a relaxed tummy,
Mm.
which then mirrors the sensations in the body when sleep pressure is the lowest after 2, 3, 4 a.m. and they wake up and their body feels empty because they went to bed full and something is missing, but they cannot put their finger on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's this gentle strategy around how do we ensure all their needs are met? How do they get to go to bed with a relaxed tummy and shift their calories back to the day and still have that secure attachment and be responsive and teach them to keep choosing back to
Yes.
sleep and consolidate their night.
Yes, I think, because it's so interesting, because the parents also don't need how to don't know how to do that,
Yeah.
to go to bed, to eat,
Yeah.
to leave space in between meals, to leave space before they go to bed.
Yeah.
And so that also their system is much more at ease
Yeah.
and can do its work in the night, what it
Yes.
does,
Right.
rather than digesting heavy, very late food.
Yes. And then what happens too, the other side of the same coin is we're going to bed, eating the second before we go to bed. And
Hmm.
then we have an expectation that we eat the second we wake up.
Yes.
And then you wonder why so many people are obese and struggling
Absolutely.
with emotional eating
Yeah,
around
yeah,
food,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So there are buffers around
Mm,
mealtime,
mm.
very gentle, that again meet all the baby or child's needs,
Yeah, yeah.
but teach them to trust and regulate within themselves. So
That's it.
the children, I say, in our care, because I
Mhm.
believe ownership is a delusion. We're born with nothing, we leave with nothing. We're a portal,
That's
but the
right.
children are in our care.
Yeah, yeah.
So the 5 children in our care wake up every morning. They rest awake in their bed for between 15 minutes to 45 minutes.
Mhm.
Then at a agreed upon time, which is we use a sleep light to give them cues for transitions,
Mhm.
they get up independently. They have a sip of water. They do their morning potty.
Mhm.
They brush their teeth, wash their hands and face. They go outside and do fresh air and
Mhm.
sunlight. They
Mm.
do their morning meditation. And we're talking 12 years old down to 3 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah.
And they've been doing this since 2 years old. And of course, we have a gated yard, so we have space to do that. And it's Hawaii, so it's 70 degrees year round. But, you can create dynamics even
Yes,
inside.
absolutely.
And they set their intentions for the day and they do gratitude
Lovely.
every day. And then they come in and make their little checklist and
Mhm.
have their breakfast and start their homeschool, and they move on with the day. And they have like those anchoring rhythms throughout that just bring
Absolutely.
them and keep them connected
Mm.
with their body,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
each other and community.
Mm.
And, people say, well, how do you do it with 5 kids and running 2 companies and a nonprofit and, being a surrogate 3 times over? Like, it's because everything is in a flow.
Yes,
And
yes,
I feel that
yes.
Ayurveda really speaks to that as
It
well.
does, yes, absolutely. It speaks to that as well, and it is so important to 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 understand that obviously newborn babies are different,
Yeah.
right? And but from then they, as they grow, they don't need to be different to the adults. They don't need to eat differently to the adults. They don't need at different times to the adults, and keeping it all in that structure, so one learns from the other and
Mhm.
one feeds the other and informs the other, is so important. And unfortunately it is not really like that, because often you have, and you know that much more than I do, but I do work with lots of mothers throughout,
Yeah.
throughout the different stages, and so many women, they treat their children as they can't sit with us on the table.
Yeah.
They have different tastes and different needs, and yeah, and then it all goes a little
Well, it's a
array,
dissonance and
and
a disconnect, and
yeah,
it's a
it is.
separateness.
It is,
Yeah.
and it is also, on the practical side, more work
Yeah.
for the mother
For
to
everyone.
do
Yeah.
2 meals, to do different times, rather than one is sitting, with everyone is sitting at the same time,
Yeah.
eating at the same time, and even babies can sit with you while you're
Yeah.
eating, and
Yeah.
sort of be integrated in that whole uh, rhythm and
Experience.
experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's also about setting the child up for success, because you can't take the
Mm,
child from waking up in the morning, put them in the pram and take them to music class, which is input, 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 put
mm,
them back in the pram and bring them home, and then, put them in the high chair and expect them to be willing to sit still for lunchtime
mm.
when they haven't even had any output to balance
Yeah.
the input of
Yes.
stimulation.
Yes.
And then you put them from the high chair into their bed and wonder why they don't want to sit still or lay down or go to sleep. So,
Yes,
you know,
it's the thinking of that something needs to be digested first, and it's not the food, but
yeah,
it's his impression as well.
yeah,
Everything what we see, what we hear,
yeah,
what we smell, what we touch needs to be digested by our system,
yeah.
and yeah, I know. It is. I mean, it's for both sides. Children, they learn alongside the parents, but the parents also, um, yeah, sometimes would benefit from some different ideas, and
Yeah.
how things, their life, the family life, could work as well. That there is more than one
Way.
way out there.
Yeah. And coming back to the idea of, shifting calories to the day and having the spaciousness around eating and sleeping and having sleeping needs and eating needs met at the same time. It's also important to note that in that fourth trimester, right?
Mm,
0, I would say, to 12 weeks,
yes.
you know, or in general, if what you're doing with your baby is working, there are babies out there, I would say about 30%,
Mm,
who will nurse to sleep, will maybe wake up once in the night for a nurse as they've grown bigger and
mm,
they stretch out naturally, and then they sleep through till nearly morning, and it feels manageable, and you're co-sleeping and
mm,
contact napping, and if that's working for your family, then beautiful.
mm.
No one, enjoy it and do what works at the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
day. But there are lots of families by 7 or 8 weeks already, the child is having an expectation
Mm,
that I'm fed to sleep. Every time I wake up, I'm fed back to sleep,
mm,
eh, to where they're waking up every 30 minutes, every hour, every
mm.
transition between every sleep cycle. And again, escalating. So you pick them up, you comfort them, you try to put them back down. At some point, they start sleeping so lightly because they're noticing you're putting them down that they refuse to let you put them down.
Yes, yes, yes.
And this carries on for the daytime and the nighttime. And so, even for tiny babies that small, from 7 weeks or 8
Mm,
weeks, all of the elements of my methodology around sleep can be layered in, or
Mm.
like habit stacked, if you want a, formal
Yes.
term
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah.
And then you can begin to shift around their relationship with those dynamics. And you
Mm.
can still keep some balance of feeding and timing and sleeping and give them some independence. They can still co-sleep with you. My method is
Mm.
so friendly to co-sleeping and
Yeah, yeah,
contact
yeah, yeah,
napping,
yeah.
because that's not the dynamic that is really underpinning everything. It's
Yes,
about,
yes.
instilling this internal sense of security in the child,
Exactly. Yes.
giving clear expectations, really teaching them to trust and love their sleep space,
Mm.
getting the skills to be in your leadership as a
Mm.
parent, as a caregiver, to set clear expectations and give them the freedom within healthy boundaries to grow into their capacity and their
Yes.
spirit,
Mm.
and reparent yourself so that we can heal the intergenerational trauma.
Exactly. That's I just wanted to say that it's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, I would say the majority of women didn't grow up with that knowledge behind
Yeah.
them, and and instead of feeling guilt now and thinking, "Oh, I'm doing everything wrong because oh, I've never learned that," to think this is the opportunity, for
Hmm.
both.
Hmm.
For me to understand maybe where certain things come from that are still there,
Yeah.
or that a child can trigger the own emotions and like we started off the fear and insecurities, and that we can sort of manage that alongside with
Yeah.
managing the baby.
Yes, and shepherding the child, and that's just it.
Absolutely,
They
yes.
say it can take 7 generations to heal this trauma,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
feel that when you have these skills and this foundation
Mm,
from the beginning, from the pregnancy, from the
yes,
conception point,
yes,
from the
yes.
idea of wanting to have a
Mm,
family,
mm,
then you're already doing the work and, aligning your energetic self and
yes,
elevating your frequency to a space that is just more spaciousness for light and love
yes,
and,
yes,
you
yes.
know yeah,
Enjoyment in
yes,
general, which
yeah,
is so underlift in
yes.
this in this life at the moment. And yeah, wonderful. I think we have here a little schedule, and I don't know where we are.
That's okay.
We are
We
with
can
free flow. Uh, we talked about unprocessed early patterns. What we had, where we just talked now a little bit
yeah.
too, and what do this maybe we haven't or we could touch back on to what do adults wish they have understood, um, that a baby actually shows us really clearly. And I think the next one can go sort of in that if you have already grown children, what is still relevant from that work when you brought them up? And I think they are interlinking
Yeah.
these two questions. So
Yeah.
if we can talk a little bit about that again. So what when you think of your clients, what they voice that even and express that, what they have wished they could have actually already understood clearly and done. If there is there one common or something that you hear very frequently.
Yeah. So, I find with older children and even
Mm.
with adults, we all have a nervous system, and our nervous system does
Yep.
not age out
No.
of this methodology, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's why I always try to let families know that this
Mm.
is universal, an
Yeah.
application, it's culturally
Mm.
sensitive. This is something that applies in any context
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
complements the best of all worlds.
Mm.
And, an older child or an adult, their rhythms, their sensory diets might look a little different,
Mm.
but they still need to learn to connect with that and come
That's
back
right.
to themselves. And
Yes.
oftentimes, adult sleep is lacking because the brain is spinning
Yeah.
and they don't have enough time in nature. And
Mm.
everyone is wearing
Yes.
rubber shoes, which disconnect your connection and
Mm.
your frequency with the grounding of the earth.
Yeah.
And so you need to go put your feet in the sand or in the
Mm.
mud or in the ground, in the land.
Yes.
And, you're in screens too much and blue light too much and
Mm.
Wi-Fi too much. Just
Everything too much at
just
the moment.
shut it all down,
Yeah.
go off grid and take some time in
Yes,
nature.
yes.
And, you
Exactly.
know, yeah, it's about recalibrating that
Mm.
nervous system within yourself, within your partner, with your
Yes.
children,
Yeah, yeah.
elevating communication so that everyone is feeling better understood. And this is a simple one, but it's so profound. When I work with children of all ages, even adults,
Mm.
it's important to impress upon them that you're never in trouble. And
Yes.
this is the thing. Yes, in society, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
consequences and you might be in trouble, but
Mm.
children learn that they're in trouble at school or they're in trouble with parents when there's all this punitive or
Mm.
dynamics where parents react or blow up or yell
Yes.
or shame or
Yes.
blame or guilt the child into doing
Mm.
things. And reframing that entire belief and reminding them, yeah, it's okay to make a mistake as long as we make a correction, and
Yes.
neutralizing the concept of mistakes
Mm.
and teaching cause and effect around, situations that happen. And
Yeah.
you're not in trouble, but you've made a choice. And based on this choice, this is your result.
Exactly.
And if you
Yes.
would like a different result, then we're going to work as a team and come up with
Mm.
a different choice. And
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
try again when you're ready. And to
Exactly.
be ready, we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to acknowledge that, together that we've made this mistake and it's
Mm.
okay because we're not in trouble. This is a safe place to learn and
Mm.
grow and figure out, how we can show up in our highest light and how
Yeah.
we can work in community and support our friends and also stay true to ourselves.
Mm.
Um, and so that's just a little dialogue that I use with children from 2 up through the teen years. And
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
even
And
adults need to remember.
all the adults need to remember that, because what the I always come from for myself when I see, when I reflect on my behavior, it is always fear-based.
Yeah.
Where it starts to imbalance,
Yeah.
that is, and it is such a big driver, because fear is not necessarily a big emotion, that sits in little tiny spaces and
Hmm.
expresses itself in gazillion ways, and all of what hasn't been said is all around that,
Hmm.
obviously, as being in trouble, fear of someone else doesn't understand you, or someone else completely blows off to what has said or decisions that have been made. And I think this is really a family activity
Hmm.
that needs to be brought in much more, and but it requires also reflection. It
Yeah.
requires that listening skills,
Yeah.
which are waning as well.
Yes.
It requires so many things.
Yeah, well, and even the strength to listen to a child's emotions and not
Yes.
try to shut them down
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
suppress them or
Yes.
avoid them or pacify them, but actually to hold space and let them
Mm.
know that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling.
Yes.
However, what you're feeling is a choice. And this is
Yes.
so deep because if
Yeah.
if you can guide the child from 12 months old,
Mm.
18 months old, 2 years old. I see you're choosing sadness. You're not choosing
Mm.
to be trusting, and that's okay. But when
Mm.
you choose happiness, you'll have more fun.
Yeah.
And when you choose silliness, you'll have more fun. And when you
Mm.
do choose to be trusting and ask for support and think in a solution and work as a team, then everything will work out and you can do anything that you want when you're ready and when it's time.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so, yeah, giving the space to process emotions
Yeah.
and also knowing the balance of, okay, with little children, they don't always know how to snap out of it. And
Mm.
it isn't helpful to just wait indefinitely either. So it's like
Yes.
teaching the parents to navigate how long are we going to hold space for this tantrum, this meltdown?
Mm,
I didn't get the blue cup. I wanted the red cup. You cut
yeah.
my apple. I wanted a whole one.
Mm,
I said to peel it, but then I decided I didn't want it peeled.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But then let's hold space long enough
Mm,
to acknowledge that, remind them they made a choice, walk them through that. And then, okay, we can breathe and redirect them and
yeah,
offer
yeah.
them, a pathway to co-regulate.
Mm.
Um,
Yes, because the concept of that choices have consequences is really important to understand. And um, I think that nowadays, at least here, you can see mental health in teenagers
yeah.
is in a really bad way,
Yeah.
and bringing back this understanding that there are consequences, but they are not final.
Hmm.
There are consequences. They came from a desire, or they came from whatever reason. It doesn't really matter, but they came from something inside, and that hasn't been met in the way, and that's okay as well. But that's what happens as well in life. That what makes life, and also the interaction between humans.
Yeah, yeah, but giving parents a sense of, what is normal and
Yeah,
within that range of those older adolescents and those teens, and what are they typically processing, and
yeah.
bringing them the awareness and the understanding of themselves so that they can avoid a lot of those pitfalls as well.
Yes, and also for the adults to understand
Yeah,
that concept as
yeah,
well,
yeah.
that they look back at their um, reasons for what was there, wish was there, desire was there, that didn't form in the way they wanted it, and to live with that or to correct it, but that there are consequences from our behavior. And in yoga, they are brought all down to the desire.
Mhm,
First is the desire, and then, comes all of whatever comes out of it. And
mhm,
if it's not met, how it escalates into total meltdowns.
mhm.
But to have that understanding for adults is very important, and to see how it lives in them,
Yes,
how it works out in them, and that this is just in a different way is the child,
yes, the
and it
inner
is this
child, yes.
the inner child and the outer child, small child, that it is just the same what they see, but what they experience in themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, that there's no foreign object
Yeah,
there, or foreign life form, but something just in a different shape, in a
yeah.
smaller shape than they have.
And I call this address the behavior while
Mm,
meeting the need.
okay.
So teach them to meet the need while still addressing, supporting the
Their own.
behavior,
Yes, yes.
the parents, the
Child,
childs, the
yeah, yeah,
teens.
yeah.
Yeah. And channeling that energy in a constructive way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
This is so interesting, and I think it is so super relevant. So if you would have, if you have someone there with, or maybe someone listening to that with no idea, we say, okay, this all sounds really good. Give me one or two things that I can do straight away, something really easy. I mean, in question marks, easy, right?
Mhm.
To what they can implement either for themselves or for their children or for their grandchildren. It goes, like you said, through the generations, and
Mhm.
even grandparents. They can sort of settle with how they got brought up, and how they react then to the grandchild.
Mm. Yeah. So we can work through the different stages.
Mm,
So with let's say the youngest or young babies who are um, let's go all the way to if you are in that pregnancy
yes.
stage, right? So I would say a key takeaway for the pregnancy would really be focusing on your breath. If you
Mm,
don't already meditate, start learning how to meditate.
Mhm.
You know, there are beautiful tone speakers that I recommend to families, and
Yeah.
someday I'll have my own version of this product. But they offer binaural beats,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just for a couple of minutes, but you can just a couple times a day hold them in your hands, lay back, close your eyes, and just take deep breaths in your nose and out your
Mm.
mouth. Because the breath and taking time as a practice to connect with your breath is is imprinting your nervous system and your
Absolutely.
unborn child's nervous system for safety and
Mm.
for calm.
Mm.
And so that is a great one for a key takeaway for that age. And then you have your born baby and you're in that fourth trimester. And I would say, you know, a big key takeaway is going to be about like finding the courage to ask for support.
Mm.
And
Absolutely.
if you're, you know, communicate what your needs are and be willing to accept that support. And it's so
Mm.
tricky for some people to,
Absolutely.
you know, be willing when they feel like they have to do it all as the mother and they have to.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
actually why a lot of families struggle to have coaching around sleep, because they feel
Yeah.
shame that they should already know what to do and
Yes, yes,
that
vice
they should do it
versa.
themselves. And I
Absolutely.
don't think that that's true at all. I think
Mm.
that, you know, I came to this earth, I developed this skill set, but I feel like it came channeled through me and
Mm.
working with, you know, tens of thousands of families. And I think that it's a gift that I'm here to give back
Mm.
to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
world.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we all have different giftings and
Absolutely.
we can give those to each other.
It
And
and
um,
just to, not to interrupt,
no, it's
that,
okay.
but it is, for adults equally important to, or I do sleep classes as well. So for them to understand, where Ayurveda comes from, the impact of the rhythms of the day and how they are lived and the impact on that is for them just as uh, revelating where they think, wow, I didn't think of that. Because
Mhm.
lots of most adults, I think they don't entertain these thoughts that there's more behind them, that they need to look at something different
Yeah, what we
in
don't know
order
that we
to
don't know.
exactly. And so to educate them, that's really good. So, but when you were saying these babies, what do you think about because they are responding to sounds and to the vibrations of the sounds,
Mhm.
to have them close by while you're
Mhm.
humming,
Yes.
it's something very simple,
Yes.
of what everyone can do. Yeah.
Yeah, and two more key takeaways for the baby ages. One is to stop saying, uh-oh, every time something drops, because you're actually wiring the child to be pessimistic
Okay.
and see that something happens and then there's this problem, as opposed to, wow, I see the cup fell. Say, support,
Mm.
please, and let's pick it up. So the cause and
Yes.
effect in a
Yes.
neutral way, more so than so any. And I've heard caregivers and parents 50 times a day say, uh-oh. And it's like, if we only have so much bandwidth to regulate throughout the day, bringing your awareness to that particular phrase. And I have an article that I've written on this, I'll put on my app. And that gives much more reasoning behind it. But
Yes.
just
Yes.
bring your awareness to that simple reaction and try and come up with a neutral
That's a very
response.
good one.
And then also for babies, like, not try and be aware where you're rescuing them.
Yes.
Where did you pick them up for crying?
Mm.
And what could you do instead? Oh, they've woken up crying in their bed. I know this is going to sound silly, but climb in the bed with them.
Okay.
Bring the toys.
Yeah.
Offer them a little distraction. Offer them that closeness, that proximity. Talk to
Mm.
them. Show them the toys. Play with them, calm them down together. And if
Mm.
after 30 seconds to a minute, they haven't calmed with your effort right beside them,
Mm.
bring them to your lap and
Mhm.
spend another 30 seconds to a minute to continue to calm them.
Okay.
And if they don't calm, then say, okay, let's clean up our toys and come out together. So
Mm.
then you spend 30 seconds modeling cleaning up,
Mm.
then you climb out, and then you say, watch, I'm putting the basket away. Oh, would you like to come out? Say, up, please, and then pick them up
Mm.
and bring them that reassurance, right? Because it's a change. So they're still going to actually escalate further at first. But even with just that pattern of responding and not reacting and not rescuing them,
Mhm.
I guarantee you within a week or two of like, we respond even from the monitor. I hear you, I'm coming. Then you get in the room, 30 seconds in the room beside them, 30 seconds to a minute in beside them, then to your lap, then clean up, then come out. Like it's a
Mm,
3 to 5 minute process, but
yes.
they will learn to trust that pattern and they will
Mm,
start calming down quicker. And then
yeah.
before you know it, they'll just calm down when you tell them, I'll be right in. I love you. Be trusting. 2 minute time
Mm,
check until it's time for nap time to be done.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, so that, and even the same thing, they're down on their playmat and they're crying and reaching up for you. Don't just
Mm,
rescue them and pick them up.
mm.
Sit down beside them, offer to play with them, be
Yes,
close to
yes,
them. And
yeah.
then the same thing, if they don't calm down, bring them to your lap.
Mm,
If they still don't calm down, try different toys or change to a hug standing
mm.
position, then get up with them. But it's that responding dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is a good word that you use, is rescue.
Yeah.
Obviously intentional, right? You're using that, but it is, there's nothing to rescue, and an adult knows that. So if they are aware that this will maybe, to the baby seem like it,
Yeah.
then, it makes it more understandable why they maybe go on the floor with them and play a
Mm-hmm.
little and sort of wind them out of this situation
Mm-hmm.
into a new one.
Yeah, and the same for when parents
Mm,
dad is holding the baby and the baby wants mom,
yeah.
and they're like, "Oh," and they just take them, they rescue them. Now dad is the bad
Yes,
guy, mom is the
yes,
savior.
yes.
And we learn that's an effective way to communicate versus
Mm,
holding the hands. I know you want mommy, daddy's
yes,
having a turn. Let's
yes,
set our timer for 30 seconds or let's count from 10 and then it will be mommy's turn because everyone gets a turn and you're very animated about it.
yes.
10, 9, 8, and you count down and you dance and you're silly. Timer finished, mommy's turn, come to mommy. And like little by little,
Yeah,
they'll like
yeah, yeah,
start to see
yes.
that, like, okay, we don't need to be rescued. We don't need to panic to get
Mm,
someone else.
mm,
We can trust everyone has a turn. We can like communicate those transitions so that we don't put all the emotional weight on the mother who unintentionally burdened herself with that choice and then wonders why she can't have any support, but she wanted to be the one always rescuing and I'm there for the child. But so it's like working with that
mm.
dichotomy.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And it is really, it is instilling the trust, and I always come back with, okay, there's some distrust already in the adult, needing to do something,
Yeah.
and it gets projected to the child, but not knowingly.
Right. It's all
That's all. It is
unintentional.
all
Yeah.
unintentional. We do think, "Oh, that's the best," and that is actually what will reassure the child,
Yes.
that they say, "Oh, that's it. Look, now you're here."
Yeah.
Like you said at the beginning, at the safe space,
Yeah.
and that it doesn't communicate that they might see all the other spaces then as unsafe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And with older children, a key takeaway
Mm.
would be coming
Yes.
back to that special mummy time, that special daddy time.
Mm.
A lot of adolescent children are so used to just surviving the day, all the routines, like, and they're coping with, all the other siblings are getting the attention and I'm not having that quality time anymore. So mix it up, get out of the routine, do something spontaneous and special with that child.
Yes.
Sit down with them and say, here's my schedule. I have
Mm.
2 hours in this block. What should we do? Let's make a bucket list together of
Yes.
fun places to go or fun experiences to have. And let's fit that in, even
Yeah,
if it's a
yeah.
little bit every week.
Mm.
And then, with even older teens and yourself as an adult, I would just say starting to have more gratitude practices and reflection
Yes,
on
yes, yes, yes,
things that
yes.
are going well to balance all of the doom and gloom
Mm.
and try and, give yourself
Yes,
some grace for all of your
yes.
hard work and know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And
Mm.
as depleted as you are without enough sleep or support or
Yeah, yeah.
community and isolated, like
Mm.
come back to, just
Yeah, so to a sense of, yeah, I know, I understand, to nourish and nurture yourself as well.
yeah.
And I also think, making a child happy in a way, they
they want time. And it doesn't take 5 hours to
Yeah.
play or to, you can always squeeze, like you said, 5 minutes. There's a
Yeah.
lot done in 5 minutes
There
for a
are.
small child.
Yeah, there is.
And they are happy, and then they are happy by themselves, maybe playing it, because the time is such an issue, that it is not enough time
Right.
that we have, that I don't have enough time, and
Right.
I can't now do that because I have something different to do.
Right.
And it also brings the adult out of that scarcity,
Yeah.
time scarcity mode, where I think, oh, I can't be 2 minutes with you, because what's done in the 2 minutes?
Right. But it's actually not that at all, because
Yeah.
first off, the time is something we make.
Yes.
And it's not even about the time for the child, it's about the presence.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so when I created literally a whole poster, special mummy time, special daddy time, best friends forever time, when we're doing something special
Yeah,
for siblings, once a week, or and then we put it on our schedule, even on my Google Calendar, and the kids come and they pick what color. And I'm like, look, I have 10 minutes between these 2 work meetings, and what are we going to do? And I remember one special mummy time, we just chewed gum and blowed bubbles. And then we
Yes.
take a selfie of it. And we have a photo album called Special Mommy Time, and it stays by their bed. And they look at it every day, and all they remember is I always get special mommy time. And they don't remember if it was 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes.
Yeah.
They just remember we made muffins one time. We did a little project one time. We blowed bubbles. We, went outside and colored rocks, and just little simple things. But it's just bringing their awareness and attention to it.
Yeah.
And what I do is I work from home. So I tell my caregiver, okay, I'll be down in a half an hour, give my child a half an hour time check. They set the visual timer for 30 minutes. As the countdown comes, they get them excited and they're waiting for me. I'm coming down the stairs and mommy, and we have a big hug and quick, let's set our time timer for 7 minutes, and then off we go. And we have some very high energy, connected, present time together, tickles and snuggles and whatever we're going to do. We add our selfie, add it to our photo album.
Yeah.
And then a big hug and a kiss, and be trusting I'll always come back. We check my schedule again. Okay, I'll be back in 2 more hours till my next meeting. And off I go. And they're perfectly happy with that.
Yes. It all comes down again to the communication.
Yeah.
This is this. And I think that's taking a photo is such a good idea, and printing it and putting it out into something tangible, so they can see, okay, yes, actually, yeah.
We did a lot of special things together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important for them.
Yeah. And that bucket list for even adults.
Yes.
Create a bucket list. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Look in your town, your city, your state, your island, your country. What do you have that you haven't done before? And we actually categorize like a spreadsheet. What can be done in under 15 minutes? What takes about a half an hour? What takes an hour? What takes a full day? What takes a weekend? What takes a trip? And then we just kind of put in little blocks here and there, and the kids get really excited to pick their activities. Yeah.
And it also shows them
planning,
exactly, and
time management.
It doesn't need that much that time. And 15 minutes, you can always spare 15 minutes, even if you have a really busy day. Yeah. And wonderful. There are some really good ideas, I think, that you brought up with everyone can do that. Now, my last question to you is for yourself. So you say you're living in Hawaii, you're coming to London, so you're traveling through multiple time zones. And then when you arrive at your destination, in Ayurveda is this Vata dosha, which is completely, irregularity, can't sleep, eating at the wrong times, not at what the body is used to at home. Time is different. Maybe the appetite is not there. Sleep is what it's light. How do you
manage all of
that? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So the biggest piece about that is actually your mindset. And, I've traveled the world, over 20 countries, and lots of shifting time zones, and lots of being up 10 times a night teaching another child to consolidate their sleep.
Yeah.
And guiding up to 20 families at a time on my little cameras and messaging everybody what to say and do and how to regulate them. And mindset is a big one, right? The same thing about scarcity around time or money or love or anything in life. When you have an abundant mindset, when you keep a open heart, when you keep a positive frame of reality and you stay kind of peaceful and you're focusing on your breath, like it's a lot easier to kind of shift and adjust within, you know, the fabric of time.
Yes.
Now, granted, if I'm traveling with children, it's different than traveling on my own.
Yeah.
Because traveling with children, you have to regulate the child, hold space for the child, you're entertaining them, what you pack for them, when you feed them, how you shift their sleep to set them up for success for where they're going next. And I guide families on all of this. Travel and time zone changes is a huge, like, perspective that I have in traveling so much myself with families, with my own, the children in our care, working with a lot of families who just travel and that's how their life is. But when I'm traveling myself, I also try to sleep as much as possible on all of the flights.
Okay,
and I'm mindful of like, what time zone am I coming into? Okay, I'm coming into, you know, London so I left Hawaii at 11:50, nearly midnight. And it was a red eye into San Francisco. So I slept through most of that flight, but I get into but it's a short, you know, 6-hour night essentially. Get into San Francisco at 7 a.m. So now I have to keep myself up and encourage myself to eat something, have a little protein, drink some tea, keep moving, drink some water, you know, keep myself busy because I really want to sleep and I feel a little disoriented and groggy, but I just kind of keep focusing forward.
Yeah.
And then I get on the flight to London by noon in California time. And then I'm landing in London at essentially 7 a.m. the next day, London time. So now I've like had to compress an entire day and night. So I had, you know, an hour or 2, maybe 3 hours I was awake and trying to stay busy when, again, I wanted to sleep, but I had to kind of have the discipline to stay up.
Yeah.
And then thankfully also no one was sitting beside me, so I could lay out and I have no shame to curl up on 2 seats in the plane.
Absolutely.
And I just commit to sleeping or at least resting. So even if I can't sleep, I've developed this way of just keeping my eyes closed. And again, focusing on my breathing and just keeping, no matter what happens, just keep my eyes closed the entire, and I'll pause to use the bathroom or have a little water, but I just carry myself through until right before we're going to land. And then I'll get up and I'll eat something or I'll save all the food that's come and decide what I want to eat. And once I get here, because it's morning now, again, I'm tempted to want to nap, but you know, I just have to kind of move on and move through the day. And I plan an easeful day. And I plan to go to bed early the next night and plan to have a full night. And usually by the second or third day, I'm completely shifted into the rhythms and the time zone there. But it's knowing how all the pieces fit together, knowing how to see the whole path ahead and navigate where to sleep and how to regulate myself. And it's the same way I can bring that skill set down for a family who has many children and how to navigate each of those rhythms.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's all about looking ahead.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
It's all about, like, I don't know if you have scouts and Girl Scouts, be prepared.
Plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was super interesting. And I think, and I hope, and I'm sure that there are lots of women out there listening to that. They can relate to that in different stages of their lives, and it is relevant for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just for children. I find this all is also adult management, and everyone can really learn so much from that, and can also then look at your website, which is
so I thank you, the MissMegApp.com.
The Miss Meg app. That's very easy to remember.
Yes.
Miss Meg.
Yes, and infiniteconnection.co. So I have two sites right now, but I'll give them to you.
I will put everything in the show
Yeah.
notes, and they can connect. They can read up. You said you have a blog.
I have an app that is going to be launching very, very soon. That'll probably be out by the time everyone watches this.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And then you can have lots of the information, which I find super important, that we learn and that we really inform ourselves how we are, because we are in this body, but we always not necessarily don't understand it so well, or we don't understand the mind so well. So that we get different ideas, different input, and you said it's infinite connections, that we get into that abundant mindset, and out of this very festering scarcity mindset, and and give that to others, friends, family, children, grandchildren, whoever needs to know that, because I think that's all what yoga is about. And to have a more calmer, fulfilled, enjoyable life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I had one last wisdom for the grandparents.
Yes.
Because I find that parents really want to include their grandparents with their children in their care. And there's a lot of barriers and limitations and trauma that even they carry.
Yes.
And then when the parents want to live differently and they don't want to force the children to eat, like the old kind of ways, or they don't want to push the children in certain power dynamics that used to be very relevant.
Yes.
So I give families this bridge where we set the child up for success and you set the grandparents up for success. So you need to learn, what's meaningful for the grandparents and how to create special time with the child to the grandparents, where there isn't going to be this pressure, because I have this one particular family I'm thinking of that they have Chinese heritage, and the grandparents are forcing the grandchildren to eat, and they're forcing them to do certain things and listen in certain ways. And the children completely are afraid of them, and they don't feel safe with them because their boundaries are not honored and respected. And then the mother has a hard time even getting the grandparents to realize that these ways from the past are so limiting. So, finding the wisdom that the grandparents have to share, and I make custom children's books around any topic, but also specifically for the grandparents and what their wisdom is and what their giftings are, and reading that to the children so they already kind of have them in a good light. And then making sure that we're setting them up to do positive time and experiences together that isn't going to eat if they're going to force the child to eat. Maybe we're just going to go to a zoo and or go to the art museum, or do something that's a little bit safer for everybody. So we set them up for success. And then, have boundaries and teach the children to advocate for themselves as well. You can tell, grandpa, no, thank you, and please respect my boundaries. And, and if they've communicated that and the parent has backed them up and they're still not listening, because it happens, then we say, thank you, it's been such a nice visit, and we will see you soon. And you have to have the courage to leave and to stand your ground. Otherwise, you're just setting the child up to be unintentionally abused, and learn that that's how dynamics and relationships should happen. And we don't want to recreate that either.
Exactly.
So this is for all ages and all dynamics.
Absolutely. And very important to really understand these dynamics. They stay. We can change them. It takes a little effort as well, or some creativity as well, and but it is really important. And also knowing that the grandparents, they also come from their best
Of course.
interest.
Of course. Everyone does the best they can with the tools they have at the time.
Exactly.
And so it's so unintentional, but instead of just avoiding family members or isolating, it's like set everyone up for success, find a common ground.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So that was a good last tip. And so thank you very much for joining and in this sort of living room space atmosphere. And I hope you enjoy that as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Rooted in the Seasons. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe or follow Rooted in the Seasons on Spotify or Apple Podcast. That's why new episodes land automatically for you. If you like more support between episodes, you can download my free guide, my 5 quick Ayurvedic fixes from scattered to steady, and join my Sunday Read newsletter. You'll find the link in the show notes and all other links that are relevant for this episode as well. If something in today's episode resonated, I'd genuinely love to hear from you. You can connect with me on Substack, or even better, send me an email. I always read and answer them. Until next time, stay rooted in the seasons. Bye-bye.